Hey y'all, I am doing a book review on Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. It is the second book in the Mistborn trilogy, Era One. So I'm not going to have a whole lot of non-spoiler time to this review, but I am going to do, a brief synopsis before I get into spoilers. I'll put up timestamps when you can rejoin us at the end after the spoilers are over, just for the quick wrap-up. So to begin with, I said this is the second book. So the first book, if you watch that video, I talk about how the first book kind of wraps up nicely. You feel very satisfied that you've read a story in completion, but you have enough to kind of pull you in and want you to read the second one, which would be Well of Ascension. So you have enough to pull you in for that. And I feel like Well of Ascension is the same way. It's not as complete, I would say, as the Final Empire was. There is more of an open ending where you're like, I gotta read this third one to really find out how this ends. It is a good place. It's a good wrap up for a middle book, and I feel like it's satisfying enough and it completes the main arc enough to where you feel satisfied once again, but there's enough of a small cliffhanger to give you that urge to go and finish the trilogy out. I'm torn between this being my favorite or the third book being my favorite. I really enjoyed this. I actually kind of enjoyed Well of Ascension a bit more than the Final Empire, the first one. I feel like the character arcs are stronger. They have a bit more depth to them. Because you've got characters, of course, that carry over from the first book, and you just get even more depth and character with them, so you're deepening that character arc. You get new characters in this one as well, and I feel like they are very well done. So, I mean, I just feel like it's very well done, and I actually feel like I liked this book more than the Final Empire. A lot of people that I've spoke to, they did say that they felt like it was still a lot of build-up for not as much payoff in the end, and I can see where people are coming from. I really can. I don't mind build-up most of the time, but I will say this, that if you haven't read this trilogy yet, or if you've only read the first one and you're thinking about finishing it, this book may have a lot of setup to it. But once you hit that avalanche point that Sanderson is very well known for, it does feel like an avalanche. You are just in it for the ride, and it is just non-stop action until the end. But the other thing is, all this build-up is also building up things for the third book as well. Because you've also got things that were built up in the first book. You don't realize what it's building up to. You don't even realize that stuff in the first book is a build-up, really, for the second two books. I feel like the second book, there is quite a bit of build-up, but it's also building up for things in the third book as well. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't feel like it had middle book syndrome, so I would definitely suggest it. One thing that I did find funny, because I know I've talked about it in one of my other videos, but I know that Sanderson likes the word maladroit, which means clumsy. He used it like 4 times in Elantris, and I think once or twice in the Final Empire. And I don't remember if he uses maladroit in this book, but he does use the word adroit once, and it made me laugh because I never heard of that word either, just like I hadn't heard of maladroit, and I honestly thought that adroit would mean, because maladroit means clumsy, I kind of thought, well, maybe adroit means gracefully, but it doesn't. It means clever. But it made me laugh because I don't think he used maladroit in this one, but he did use adroit, and I feel like it was clever. I feel like maybe his publisher may have said, you use the word maladroit too much, and told him to cut it, and so he used the word adroit to get around it, and that idea, even if it's not true, just makes me laugh. So him using adroit made me laugh. I will say that there's a character, I'm not going to name who it was, but it took, and it was a character that had been in the book, so it's not like a surprise, sort of. This author, Brandon Sanderson, made me love that character in the span of about 10 pages. where he is easily top 5 of my favorite characters out of any book series. So, great character work, amazing character work, and that's why I said this book, he just does so well with all the characters, all the character work. I just love it. So it takes a lot of skill for me to absolutely love a character in that short of a time span, but he did it. He absolutely did it. The other thing is he had like this really weird, I don't think this is a spoiler, but he had this phrase that as soon as I read it, it just made me cringe, and maybe it's because I'm a mother, or I don't know, but it made me cringe. But he said something like, you need strength to give the suck, talking about breastfeeding. Not a fan. I did not like that phrase. I thought it was weird and awkward. I've never heard that phrase used, so I thought it was very interesting. He could have used a lot of other different phrases instead of give the suck for breastfeeding. Anyway, we'll move on. So that's really all I had to say without going into spoilers about Well of Ascension. So if you haven't read it, you can just join us. I'll put a timestamp up, of course, at the end. Hello, this is Jericho. Say hello. Okay. We'll just continue on. So, I'm distracted now. So we'll just go ahead and move on into spoilers, but feel free to join me at the end of the spoilers if you haven't read it, or and you don't want to be spoiled on anything. So, awesome. Okay. So my camera is probably at a completely different angle now. I can't remember. My cat knocked it off. I don't know how much of that I cut trying to set it back up, but he knocked off the whole camera. So anyway, we are now going to go into spoilers, and I don't know, I think I've said that 3 times. I'm so sorry. We're going to go into spoilers. Join me at the end if you don't want to be spoiled for anything. Putting timestamps up for you. Okay. So now, the first thing, I just kind of want to look at my notes because I just got completely blindsided by the cat knocking off the camera. So the first thing that I wrote down in my notes were about the Khandra, and I just said that they remind me of Scions from Elantris. So that's what they kind of remind me of. These Khandra remind me of the Scions from Elantris. So if you haven't read Elantris, I'm not going to go into that. So do with that what you want to, but I just feel like they do remind me of those. Now the Khandra don't bother me as much as the mist wraiths do. I can never say that properly. So I don't mind them as much as the mist wraiths. I do like the Khandra. They kind of scare me because they have such versatility that they just have so much versatility that I don't really know their full capabilities. Like, they are capable of a lot of damage depending on what they're doing. So that really did scare me in this book, the Khandra in general. I also, when Vin used her Duralumin to, and if I said that wrong, I'm sorry, but when she used her Duralumin to kind of control Orsur, for that brief split second after they were really bonding and stuff, it just broke my heart. Like, he told her a secret. She just had to test it. She couldn't just take his word for it, and then hurt his feelings and kind of hurt their relationship, I feel like. And that was a really sad moment. I really felt bad for Orsur because I am really starting to like Orsur. So, then also I wish I wrote a more specific point about Ham and Breeze, because I like Ham and Breeze's relationship. I love their camaraderie. I love their humor with each other. I love that they give each other a hard time. So at one point I wrote the note that I love when Ham asks Breeze for confidence, and it's so touching. And because, Ham always gives Breeze a hard time for playing with people's emotions, but him asking Breeze for confidence was just, I felt like that was a really good mark of their friendship. So, and then when Zane, when he let Lord Strafe live, I thought that was a very big character move. I thought that maybe that was some big character growth at that point, but then later when you kind of realize what's been happening and that he's had that other mistress feeding him basically a drug that he's addicted to, not that Zane is poisoning him, but that he's going through withdrawal from the drug that she's supposedly curing him from the poison with. That was so clever. Like, I didn't see that coming, and I love that little plot twist. It was good. It was good. So during the fight, when Orsur betrays Vin, this is the part where I say that Sanderson made me love the character Tensoon in the space of 10 pages, because Orsur betraying Vin was almost like one of the most ultimate betrayals for me, because I love Orsur. He was easily becoming one of my favorite characters in the story, if not my favorite character in the story so far. And I just love that character. And then for him to betray Vin for Zane, it just broke my heart. And then for it to even turn around further and you realize what Tensoon / Orsur is actually doing, Tensoon is now, he is up there in my top 5 favorite characters. Easy top 5 favorite characters. I love him so much. There's just so much about him that I love. So there was that. Now the quote, I'm going to read it. I want to read it word for word, that way I don't mess it up. This is the quote where Sazed is finding Tindwill's body at the end of the big battle, and he's, realized that he's in love with her, and he's just mourning her because he knows she's already dead, and he's trying to find her body. It was just a very simple quote, but so profound and just so simple yet mournful. And the quote was, "He found her body sometime near morning." And that was it. That was the whole quote. I feel like because he didn't go into explicit detail, because he had already kind of talked about Say's feelings about Tindwyl and, his love for her and his feelings, that when he finds her body, the fact that he doesn't really go into much more detail than just that simple statement, I feel like speaks more volumes than if he had tried to describe it even more or again. Sometimes it's about what you don't say, and I think this is one of those times, and it was very well done. Very well done. At first, let's talk about Tindwyl a little bit, because at first I actually did not like her. I feel like she's just rude as hell, and I still kind of don't like her. I can appreciate her, but I don't like her. And I think what I appreciate about her is that she is an amazing teacher, and the fact that she easily recognized that Vin and Elend have 2 completely different learning styles. She can't treat Vin with the same attitude and style as she does with Vin. How did I say that? She can't treat Elend the same as Vin, and she can't treat Vin the same as Elend. However you want to word it. Because she has like a very strong, firm hand with Elend, and just tells him things up front, and is, no, you don't want to look like an idiot, do you? Basically, I'm paraphrasing. But with Vin, she's much more compassionate, because I feel like she can tell that if she took that same attitude with Vin, Vin would just push back on her too much rather than maybe listening to her. And I feel like that just really shows that she is a great teacher, even if I don't like her. And I feel like the reason why I don't like her is because a lot of her character is mostly dealing with Elend, and I don't respond to that type of teaching style that she is doing with Elend. Because I have have a big problem with people being rude when they don't need to be. So I wouldn't respond to that type of teaching at all. I don't want to say that, you have to sugarcoat me and hold my hand. You can still be nice and just, be firm. Like, this is why I'm telling you this is a good idea. You don't have to talk down to me just because you're trying to teach me something. So I feel like that's the reason why I really don't like her. But I feel like her character is still very interesting because she is able to do that with multiple styles of teaching, and I think that makes her a great teacher. I don't think any teacher needs to be so put into one type of style that they can't reach a multiple array of students. Like, I feel like that's part of what's wrong with our education system, is sometimes teachers, they're either forced to, because of the standards or however our system is, they're either forced to teach something the same way or a certain way, and they're not allowed to kind of branch out on how they teach. But not every kid or every person learns the same way. So I feel like her ability to change just makes her more profound. And especially after you learn about her background story, I feel like she's just such a strong female character, just a strong character in general, even, taking female out of it. Like, she's just a strong character. And I think that her relationship with Sazed was very interesting. I feel like you could kind of feel that tension, and then you could tell where it really began to grow and build. And under times of duress, I feel like those, like the love connections, they can become stronger faster. So I actually kind of liked her and Sazed together. I really did. So I don't really care for her as a character that much, but I like her character arc and her character story. It's very interesting. So yeah. Okay, so I'm not sure how that other part ended. I ended up having to cut it out because I can't remember if it's a spoiler for this book or the third book. So I had to cut that last part out. I'm sorry. I want to be on the safe side, and I'll talk about that in the third book just in case. So, but the last thing that I do want to end with, I do like to always try to end on some of these book reviews with an actual quote from the book that I enjoyed. So I'm going to read word for word like I always do to make sure I don't butcher it. This is the quote for Well of Ascension. "There are two ways to stay safe. Either be so quiet and harmless that people ignore you, or be so dangerous that they're terrified of you." And that is something that I was also taught, not so eloquently put, but that was something that growing up, I was told myself. And I'm not a very strong personality. So I think I kind of took that more to heart and ended up going more on the timid and quiet side, rather than the be so strong and terrifying that people are scared of you kind of thing. And I think it's interesting because when I read this quote, it kind of made me feel like I didn't really agree with what I had been taught growing up, even though growing up I didn't think anything about it. Like, it seemed like good advice then, and it's just something that I kind of carried with me, unspoken, or undefined, I guess I should say. But whenever I read this quote, it just it really stuck with me as something that I've been thinking about since I've read it. It just, I don't agree with it. And but I did agree with it until I read this book. I don't know. It makes me feel confused. It just makes me feel confused, and I think that's one of the reasons that I love these books so much, is because some of these ideas and things, just like the little nuggets that I'm pulling out, they just stay with me, and I just can't stop thinking about them even after I'm done reading and I've moved on to another book. So I absolutely love this trilogy. We're going to go ahead and stop with the spoilers. So those of you that didn't want to be spoiled, if you're back, thank you. I'm so glad that you're here with us. And I just really enjoy this trilogy, and I feel like the third one just does a great job in wrapping everything up. So definitely go ahead and pick up The Well of Ascension, the second book. I personally do not feel like it has middle book syndrome. It is definitely well worth it, especially when you finish the third one. It just brings everything together, but you still have a full story in this one as well. So definitely recommend it. I would probably say I'm torn between 4 and 5 stars. I'm kind of leaning more toward 5. There were so many profound things in this book that really made me think, really just linger with me, made me think about my own life, my own childhood, things that I was taught growing up. I really feel like this might end up being a 5-star book for me this year. So yeah, I want to leave it at that. So I'm going to have the third book review up, which is the final installment of Mistborn Era One, and I'll have that up probably in the next few weeks. I haven't started Mistborn Era 2 yet, but I'm hoping to get to those here soon. So just be on the lookout for those, and I'll talk to y'all later. Y'all take care. Bye.